So yeah, no, and I love the name that they came up with, but like low key, it would have been funnier if they would have called it the Goat and the Plumber. But I digress. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to yet another episode of the Think RBA podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring ding ding that bell to be alerted for all of our new content as it drops weekly. As always, I'm your host, one of your co-hosts, Mr. Chico.
Hey, yo. Hey, yo.
Here with my boy, my brother, my dog, my day one best friend, sir, Mr. Okada, sir.
Okada. Let's go.
Oh, man, it's going to be burning my vernacular.
We hoodie brothers today. Hoodie brothers.
That's right. See, we didn't even plan it, and we still always got the red and black on too.
Yes, sir. Always.
Always. I like how you rep Atlanta. Yeah, I love it.
I don't know about that. Could be the MJ Bold, sir, right?
It's our logo colors. It's our theme colors for Think RBA.
Yeah,
and that just happens to be the ATL. So
as long as we don't perform like that, we're good.
You even got the gray and the UA, which is like we have that silver gray as part of our throwback uniforms. Love that.
Oh, this?
Yeah. So you got the full.
Well, sort of the Bulls.
I'm gonna go with the A. So
okay, all right.
All right, so we got a lot to talk about today. It's crazy because we're obviously not in our normal spot. Life is taking over, but Here we are at midnight.
Yeah,
midnight on a work night, recording an episode.
RBA.
But that's what we're here for. We make sure we continue to push these out. So we got a lot to talk about, and I know we can be long-winded. So let's just jump right in. The first thing that has happened in the last actually couple of days that I have to address, because the second I saw it, I thought about you. I know, without having a single conversation with you, I know that you now have a new favorite podcast, that you have kicked Gil to the curb, because Gil was your favorite. You have now kicked Gil to the curb for this new podcast that is out between LeBron James and JJ Redick.
Semi-facts.
No, it's 100% facts.
No,
because so for those who haven't seen it, LeBron and JJ teaming up with Uninterrupted to do a podcast where legitimately all they talk about is the technical side of playing ball, which is like, I was just like, oh, this is hack. Like, this is hack. That's all it is. This is hack in a nutshell.
Bro, Mind the Game is the name of it. And bro, as soon as I saw it, I was like, this is Kobe's Details on steroids. And it's like 45 minutes long. And I could have listened to another 3 hours of that.
Oh, I know.
Like, it was so great. Like, even my son, like Tage, he watched it, and it's become his favorite podcast.
Of course. I knew that too.
Right? Like, and we both have not kicked Gil to the curb, but now he's here.
That's what I meant. Like, he's here. He has been replaced. His number one spot is no longer.
Correct. Those are facts. And every other podcast is just out the window. Because, my God, bro, the details that this man, and then it's Bron, though. It's a GOAT, right? This is not just like anybody talking about it. You want to learn, you want to know what goes on in his mind? There you go. It's on a platter. And the things that they talk about was crazy because low-key, Tage and I would talk about certain things and I would express some of my opinions to him. And it was crazy how he talked about it. For example, at 2-for-1, he talked about the 2-for-1. And I'm not a fan of 2-for-1 because I also feel that it's a situational thing. It's not an automatic thing. But the fact that he talked about, I was like, man, this is great. Like, it just validates what I was thinking. And it's coming from a GOAT, like, man, this is this. So now, like, I have a little bit of, like, more, you know how, like, your son never wants to listen to you because it's just dad talking? Nah. So thank you, Bron. I appreciate it, bro. I got some street cred.
My man got some secondhand cred. Let's go.
Yes, sir.
Let's go.
Yes,
But
sir.
I know I had to bring it up first because I just knew like the second I saw it, and legitimately we have not talked about it.
No.
We have barely talked this week because it's just been so busy.
Right. It's the first conversation right here.
The first conversation.
Yeah.
But as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, it's a wrap. And I purposely didn't want to say nothing because I was like, I want to talk about it on the pod. So I know you're gonna be glued to every episode. That's right up your alley.
I already watched the first one twice already. And I saw some asinine shit that I want to talk about real quick.
Okay.
So, on Apple Podcasts, you can rate podcasts, right? I'm out of 5 and whatnot. Someone had the audacity to rate this podcast after the first episode a 1 and a 2.
Mm.
That just means one or two things. Either you're a hater or you have no idea what this game's about.
Well, I mean, there's that's the interesting thing about that pod is like it is a very niche audience that's directed to.
It is.
Because most people are only there for the funny stories and the behind the scenes look at athletes' lives and stories from the locker room and shit like that. But like that detailed breakdown of the game to just sit there for 45 minutes to talk about, backdoor cuts and different inbound plays and options if the big goes here and you do like not everybody's cut out.
Not for everybody. Not for everybody's cup of tea. I got it.
Only those that are built different is it cut out for. So
I get it. But you know what though? Out of that pod, I just got 2 new plays that I'm gonna implement next coming season.
I can't wait because I'm gonna be there. And I love the name that they came up with, but like low key, it would have been funnier if they would have called it the Goat and the Plumber. But I digress. Because JJ said something about the plumber in the episode, right? So he opened the door, folks, not me. So, all right, transition a little bit. We got March Madness, bro. We got March Madness.
We do.
We have bracketology.
Yes. The science.
The whole science behind how they come up with these brackets, and
it's a science on predictions, right?
It is predictive analytics.
Okay.
All right. That might be a trigger word for some, but that's an inside story for another day.
Yeah.
Predictive analytics. But we decided here at Think RBA, because we've been so ingrained in football and NBA that we really haven't kept up with any college ball. Certainly not the way that I have. I know you historically haven't been like a huge, but you've been like a casual.
Just semi-casual-ish. Yeah.
But like I used to keep up a lot, especially once like the football season was winding down. You get closer to the conference championships, I would watch it a little bit more hardcore. But then life is too busy. So we thought it would be fun to come up with our brackets without knowing really much about any of the teams, right? And so we're gonna go through. We did a men's bracket and a women's bracket, and we're gonna see, number one, between the two of us, who's gonna win each, and number two, how close we'll actually be on some of our guesses, and number three, by actually just going through and guessing, how accurate of a bracket do we end up with?
Bro, my guessing. This is what my guessing was.
Oh, jeez. So let's just start because we want to be transparent. Don't want anybody to come back and say, "Oh yeah, they guessed and then they changed." No, we're gonna be transparent. So, before we start, let's just break down like kind of the men's and women's side.
Sure.
Because when I was doing mine, I realized that, and maybe this is unique to me and what I see on social media, but like it's just an interesting observation, I guess, to take it, how you will. But like I know more about the status of the women's game, more players in the women's game than I do the men's game, because we hear about the Caitlin Clarks, we hear about the Angel Reeses and the Flashes and the what's her name, Paige, I forget her last name, Lilith, whatever her name is. She's the one that transferred from Louisville to LSU to play with them because she was nice too. And then you've got the South Carolina that's always under Don Staley, who's a GOAT coach, and the South Carolina is always tough and, champions themselves. Then you got this new girl out in USC and Southern Cal, Juju, like coming up in the scene and balling out. So like I see all of those on social media frequently, right? Talking about those women and those teams, but I don't necessarily see that much on the men's side, right? So I thought it was interesting. Like I was filling them out and reflecting. I'm like, maybe it's unique to me, but like this is the first time I know more about what's happening in women's basketball than I would men's basketball. I thought it was a pretty, like, for me, I feel like that's pretty cool because like it shows progress to like these women. Like I'm more excited to see hopefully these teams that I mentioned, like USC and LSU, all of them getting to, I don't think it's possible because I don't know if it's possible for all of them to get to the Final Four because I think LSU and
they might be in the same bracket.
It's LSU and somebody are in the same bracket. Yeah. Like they're gonna have to play each other.
LSU and I believe was it Carolina maybe or Iowa? I can't remember.
No, it wasn't Carolina. It was Iowa. Yeah,
Iowa probably.
Yeah, I think it was Iowa. So yeah, like either way, just like I'm like, man, like I'm more invested to see what happens on that side than I am the men's side at all because I just like, I mean, I don't know, it's weird. So again, maybe it might be unique to me. I'd be curious to see with our listeners if other folks feel the same way. Maybe this is the come up of like because we've just seen so many amazing women ballers coming up in the past couple of years. You got some like look at what just happened with Sabrina and Steph, and they have Breanna Stewart who won multiple championships with UConn. Like the women's game is healthy, at least from the college side.
Agreed. And I second that because I knew who's somebody who's a casual, barely watches anything. I knew more women's names than the men's side. Only one men's name side I knew, the guy I asked you about. I knew you were like, "What are you talking about?" Because it's just like that.
Right.
And it's a big. I think there's a bigger push to push the women's side and bring the WNBA more into light. Hence the 3-point contest in the All-Star game.
But see, the crazy thing is though that some of these girls like there's more incentive to stay in college under NIL than to go to the WNBA. So that's where like it's like the women's college game is healthy, but that transition to WNBA is almost not worth it in a lot of cases.
Right, and I think they're aware of that because a lot of them do go overseas to go ahead and make that that real bread, that real cheddar.
Yeah.
So maybe this is why the push is coming up to keep them at home and be able to pay them more, get more. The more fans show up, the more we can pay them. Right. So maybe that's why there's more of a limelight into it.
I sure hope so because we got some fantastic women ballers right now. So
yes.
All right, we both did a bracket. Let's go ahead and we'll be transparent. We even took pictures. We're gonna put it up on the screen so that nobody can say that we changed anything or switched up. We're gonna leave the receipts on the screen of the episode.
Yes,
so let's start with the men's bracket. So I'm gonna just say there's always some crazy underdog that makes it through, some crazy seed. I think I had two. I don't remember exactly how far I had them go, but I picked Grand Canyon. I picked Grand Canyon to go on a run, either to the Sweet 16 or Elite 8.
Okay.
And then I think it was maybe this was on the women's side. It was Fairfield, but anyway, I think it was Grand Canyon on the men's side that I picked to go on a crazy run. So that was my little upset.
Your Cinderella story.
The one that I remember anyway, out of all of the picks that I made. And then I got in my championship game, I got North Carolina versus Purdue.
Okay.
And I think I have, I'm pretty sure I got North Carolina winning it all.
Okay. For the men's side.
On the men's side.
Okay, nice. I don't remember having any sort of a, Davidson story.
Mm-hmm. Davidson, man. See?
So my final two were UConn and Kentucky. And I had Kentucky winning just because I know that kid. That kid I asked you about. I love his game. I love watching him play basketball. He's so much fun to watch.
I was who is this guy you're talking about? Was it Rob?
Rob Dillingham. He's nice. He's nice.
I don't know who that was. That's how like you talk about casual. That's the only
name I know. So and that's the reason why I went with him. So, like, I really love his game, and I would love to just watch him play basketball and see what he's made of at the higher levels. So
He's like, what is it, like 19 years old?
he's
That's
young.
gonna be
He's young.
that's
Yeah.
gonna be crazy. And you're probably
He's,
what, first tournament?
yep. Yep.
It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough
But
sledding.
if you get a chance to watch them highlights, they're YouTubeable.
They are YouTubeable. Certainly we can find them there. But okay, so you got that, and then on the women's side, yeah, man, I had to go with the core. I want the rematch. I want the rematch. South Carolina, LSU in the title game.
Oh,
and I got LSU taking it.
oh wow, okay.
I just think that, man, their firepower, man. They got a really good team.
They do have and some of those girls will be leaving, so this might be their last chance to, right?
And so that's where I had them up against Iowa, and I don't think one, and not to say I just don't know anybody else on Iowa, but Caitlin Clark, she gets all the shine. So it's like Caitlin Clark against LSU, right? And LSU has multiple pretty well-known players. So I'm going with LSU beating Caitlin Clark and then making it into the Final Four and taking into and winning the championship.
Nice. And I too, just like yourself, and I think half of America maybe, minus the states that have their own teams, went with LSU and Iowa probably in the Final Four. And I too have that same story. However, my result is a little different because, I mean, I consider her a GOAT already in the college game. Mm-hmm. I think if her shot's money, and she is known to step up on the big stage and perform. And I know that she's going to be the main center of attention on defense and attack her and all that, right? Limit her shots and whatnot. But the great ones always find a way, right? Steph and Davis had always found a way. And she strikes me as one of those, of somebody who always finds a way. So I would love to see how it was almost like that, like she's the underdog in that sense that they don't have the firepower, but because the rest of them may be just like, a smaller size weapons, and she's just that cannon that boom, right? Like the range is just ridiculous, bro. So I feel like she may just, if she has, I really want to see what she's made of. She's going to come out and just overcome the obstacle, the odds.
You talking about Caitlin?
Caitlin, of course. Yeah.
So wait. Do you have Iowa upsetting LSU to make it to the Final Four? To make it to the
final championship. Yeah. Yep, and then Iowa against South Carolina. And then again, I want to see Caitlin handle business before she goes to the NBA.
Okay.
So that's my pick.
Okay. Interesting.
So we'll see what happens.
We're going to see what
happens. And this
happens.
is all out of blind, just picking.
Just picking it. But that's the fun of it. So, yeah. And yes, we are casual, so y'all can go say what you want in the comments.
Whatever, right.
But we still going to have fun with it. We still going to have fun with it, and we're going to give whoever wins their props and their flags.
Absolutely.
So, all right. So that's all I got from that side. Do you want to transition and talk about the other biggest thing that has happened in the last probably week and a half?
Yeah.
It kind of started after we recorded our last episode and has been ongoing, which is, always dominating the news cycle, but the NFL free agency frenzy.
Yep.
And my goodness, has it been quite a time.
I saw my phone was blowing up with all these alerts and these movements, and I'm like, some of them like, what? Someone's like, oh, okay, right? So all sorts of emotions and reactions from myself, and I'm sure most of America who is watching.
So many. So where do you want to start?
So let's start off though. First and foremost, since we spoke about this team, you're wearing their shirt right now, the ATL, the Falcons. Now, I want to talk about the first thing before I get to the second thing about the Falcons. The first thing I want to talk about is why y'all birds be getting in trouble. You know, say the birds of a feather flock together? Birds of a feather got in trouble together. Eagles and the Falcons be tampering. Bro, what's going on? What's going on?
There is a legal tampering window. Like, that's why they call it. No, that's what they literally call it that. They literally call it that.
I know.
And so it started a couple of days prior, and it's a legal tampering window that you can agree to deals in advance of the league year starting. Because it's just like the NBA, they did something similar too, right? as soon as the clock hit like midnight on July 1st, what you had Shams and everybody and Woj bombs coming out of the woodworks.
Right.
Like the same thing was happening in the NFL, right? Like it was happening. So okay, we're gonna put in a legal tampering window, and so I think this happened within the legal tampering window, and it should be an out story. And I don't expect. I mean, even if they do lose a 6th-round pick or something, like whatever, it's not that deep. So to me, it's a non-story. I ain't worried about it. Nobody's getting stripped of a 1st-round pick. The only time somebody's gotten stripped of a 1st-round pick from tampering was when the Dolphins, because they took Tom Brady out on a freaking yacht, and like that was like this was like a phone call with a trainer. Like, that's not
Okay. Well, 1st-round pick, 2nd-round pick, 3rd-round pick, don't matter. The results are still the same for.
And see this guy? No.
We all know how this movie ends at the end of the day, anyway. So just put it on rewind and repeat. Rewind and repeat.
We're finna find out. That's all I know. We are finna find out.
And the second part of this, it seems like y'all got a bag over there, man. Listen, if y'all want to spread the wealth, we are available.
Well, we had a bag to give out, first of all, because the cap went up. We had a ridiculous amount of cap space. But listen, it all came down to, was it going to be Justin Fields, who's from the area, from Georgia, went to the University of Georgia before he transferred to Iowa State, or were they going to go after the big fish, which was Kirk Cousins? He was the number 1 quarterback. So if you think about it, because there's a lot of flack. So take the numbers, take everything out of it, right? Prior to free agency starting, everyone you talk to, every analyst, every media smart person, if you ask them about the Falcons, they would say they are a quarterback away from contention. If they just had better quarterback play, they just had a better quarterback, right? Because you got Bijan, you got Kyle Pitts, you got Drake London, you got one of the better offensive lines in the league. You got the best right guard in the league in Chris Lindstrom. And then we had a defense that was way, way improved last year with the addition of Jesse Bates and some other pieces. Like we had a defense that was up there in the top 10 for the first time in a long time. Like something Matt Ryan really never had was a top 10 defense. So he always had great offenses, but just like the Super Bowl, your defense gives up leads. Like Matt Ryan had almost a perfect quarterback rating in the Super Bowl and lost a 28-3 lead because our defense couldn't stop anything. But everybody talked to, just, man, if they just had better quarterback play. Like we almost won the division with terrible quarterback play. We were 1 game away from winning the division with terrible quarterback play. And so when you look at, well, how do you solve that? Okay, we could bring in a young guy, but a young guy, there's a growth curve there. So you bring in a young guy, okay, if he's going to come in and start right away now, and I'm talking about a young guy from the draft, right? Now you may not be in contention in year 1. It might take another 2-3 years, right? Like even Patrick Mahomes didn't come in and start his rookie year, right? Like he wasn't Pat Mahomes his first year. He sat behind Alex Smith. So, but if you look at the free agency list, who's the number 1 guy? The team who is desperate for a quarterback, that needs better quarterback play, got the number 1 quarterback. It's you say it's reps. It's just simple math, right? Like it's just simple math.
It is.
This is the position you needed, and so yeah, he got a 4-year, $180 million contract with the $50 million signing bonus. He's getting 100 of the 180 guaranteed, and he's getting $90 million in 24 and 25 between the next 2 years. But it's really like, but here's where that's really like a 2-year deal, right? Because only 100 mil is guaranteed, and 90 of the 100 is guaranteed in the next 2 years. So really, it's just like a window of time. So I fully expect that we're gonna, draft or find a developmental quarterback to sit behind Kirk and learn, like the Patrick Mahomes, the Aaron Rodgers who sat behind Brett Favre, or not to say Kirk Cousins is Brett Favre, calm down, people, but Jordan Love, who sat behind Aaron Rodgers, right? Came out this year and balled out his first year. So like I fully expect reinvestment. So people get hung up on the 180 or whatever. Like it's a 2-year deal, really, and then they're only on the hook for 10 million in 26 if they wanted to cut it.
So here's the question, though. I get it, big fish, so per se. How far has Kirk Cousins gotten into his career where he's gotten to near the big stage? Has he smelled or sniffed the big
So
stage?
so again, like everything is contextual to like the team that you got around them, the defense that you got, the like everything is contextual too. So
No,
like
but
that,
does he have experience though in that situation? Is the question to warrant
he's a
that kind of money?
you know what people said the same thing about Matthew Stafford coming
Mm.
from Detroit, and then he went to the Rams, got a better team, and what did he do?
Okay,
What did he do?
he
And
did. Huh?
and by the way, we got one of the coaches from the Rams that was there for all that and won the Super Bowl as the defensive coordinator. So like he's seen it up close and personal too.
All
Everybody,
right.
oh yeah, Matthew Stafford's good, he's great, but he's never won in the playoffs. He's never produced that same shit people are saying about Kirk. Like it may or may not. I don't know. But if you want to maximize, if you want to get a quarterback that's gonna get the ball to Drake London, it's gonna get the ball to Kyle Pitts. Then also too, we got some underrated signings. We signed Darnell Mooney, wide receiver from the Bears, who one of the interesting advanced stats that I saw on him was I think he led the league in like open routes where he was overthrown.
Mm.
Like, so he's fast and can get separation. And Kirk Cousins is an accurate quarterback and get the ball on the money, right? So you add in these other pieces. We also traded. This is crazy too. Traded our quarterback Desmond Ritter, like the quarterback from last year. Traded him for Rondell Moore from the Cardinals, who's another speedy, good wide, like he's a good utility wide receiver. I was like, if we didn't have to give up a pick to get rid of a
Mm.
quarterback that like he's already put out a tape that he's got issues, right?
Mm.
Maybe Arizona thinks they can fix him. I don't know. But the fact that they gave Rondell Moore for Desmond Ritter straight up I was like, that's thievery. That's highway robbery.
Hey, well, you know
Um,
what? One man's trash is another man's treasure,
uh,
and time will tell.
sure, I guess so. Good, congratulations, Arizona. It's not like he. Don't get me wrong. Dez was like he was a pro throughout. He handled everything, the benching, getting put back into the lineup, the benching again. Like he handled everything like a pro, right? And
Mm.
he was there's nothing against him personally, but just he made some really bad decisions on the football field. But
Yep.
going back to the point is like you need somebody to distribute the ball to your playmakers. Right? Kirk can do that. Now
Yep.
whether all of that will come together with a defense that can also stop people, that's a winning combination. We have to wait to see. But I mean, listen, I'll take that and hopefully we find a quarterback that we can develop behind him to take over, beyond and see what happens in the next 2 years versus
Who was he throwing to before? Justin Jefferson?
Justin Jefferson, Jay Jettis, and TJ Hawkinson, the tight end.
Yeah, but do the Falcons have somebody like that? Him to throw
Yeah,
him?
I mean, he's not the same to the level of Justin Jefferson, but Drake London is not a bad receiver. I mean, he's
That's true.
nasty, and again, who has Drake London had at quarterback since he came into the league? He hasn't
Mm.
had anybody to the caliber of Kirk Cousins,
Mm. Mm.
right? He had
Valid point.
Marcus Mariota, and Desmond Ritter. Like, so we don't really truly know how great he can be. Like when he was coming out, he was projected like Mike Evans level, like
Mm.
his frame and how he operates. And Mike Evans is like 10 straight seasons with 1,000 yards. So like he has crazy potential. But again, Atlanta needs a quarterback and they need somebody to distribute the ball. So I'm not mad at this deal at all. I think it's great, and I'm excited to see if and hopefully it will improve our team. And if not, we don't keep on going because it's hard to find good quarterback play. And
Yeah,
after
that's true.
like we were spoiled with Matt, and a lot of the Atlanta fan base, they can get mad at me whether I say this or not, but a lot of the Atlanta fan base took him for granted because they were still holding on to the legacy of Vic
Mm.
and took Matt for granted. And then now all of a sudden you get Marcus Mariota, Desmond Ritter, and you're like, oh shit, we're in quarterback purgatory. Some teams are in quarterback purgatory for a decade before they find a
Right.
guy.
Right.
So we can get a guy for, $90 million in 2 years. I'll take it, especially with the way the cap is. And we still had the ability to sign some depth positions, and we can still make some other cuts and restructures to go after some other pieces too. So,
All right. Well, we'll see.
I'm cautiously optimistic.
There you go. That's the right word there. Cautiously optimistic. All right. So let's move on to some other team grading, as we've overly graded the Falcons.
Okay.
Let's grade some other teams there.
Okay.
So out of all the moves that have happened, which team got better and which team got worse?
Man. So this is a tough question. Because I'm talking about for the what team got better.
Okay.
Because I'm torn between two, and one of them is dependent. So the Jets, depending on Aaron Rodgers' recovery and that he stays healthy next year, bruh. So first of all, the Jets already had a badass defense. And then they added a defensive tackle from the 49ers, Javon Kinlaw, and then to an already nasty defense, right? They added a tackle in Tyron Smith, who's been a beast in the league for years with the Cowboys, I think most recently with the Bengals. And then they traded for Morgan Moses with the Ravens. So they're fixing their offensive line, hopefully to give him better protection. And man, they signed Mike Williams from the Chargers. Garrett Wilson and Mike Williams and Breece Hall, bruh, they've got some scary weapons on the offensive side of the ball with the intense defense. Health aside, they should take a major, major leap this year, in my opinion.
Okay.
I'm going to skip real quick because that's what my ADHD brain does. And because I mentioned them, I'm going to say the Chargers got worse. They got, not only did they cut Mike Williams, but they also traded away Keenan Allen.
Right.
To the Bears. And so to me, it's maybe Jim Harbaugh has a plan. I don't know whether maybe it doesn't include Justin Herbert. Maybe there's something in the works and he wants to just completely start over. They restructured the contracts of Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack, but that doesn't mean that they won't get traded. They could still possibly. They just did that because they had to get under the cap, and I just don't know what direction they're going. Austin Eckler, he's kind of been falling off, but he left. So it's running back wise, they got holes. They got holes there. They got holes on the defense. I think, and there might be a team that I'm forgetting that got worse. I think the Giants are pretty close to that as well.
They're always quite close.
They lost Saquon, and then the only thing that they did do was they traded for Brian Burns, from Carolina, who's somebody I wanted the Falcons to try to get, but it was unrealistic that the Carolina would ever trade their star pass rusher to a division rival. The Giants, but other than that, they're still stuck with Daniel Jones. They just don't seem to have any direction at this point. So those will be two I highlight there. The other got better that I'm struggling with is Houston. It's crazy to think about Houston that had the second and third, because they traded second and third overall picks last year that they spent on Stroud and Will Anderson, Will Anderson had a great rookie year as an edge rusher. Obviously, CJ Stroud came out fucking balling, but they got rid of their running back, Devin Singletary, traded for Joe Mixon from the Bengals, who had a great year despite the fact that Burrow was out, and they got him for a seventh round pick. You got a 1,000-yard rusher for a seventh round pick. They re-signed Noah Brown, one of their receivers, who was a great player last year. They re-signed their tight end Dalton Schultz, who had a good year. Then their biggest splash was signing the edge rusher Danielle Hunter from the Vikings, which is another guy that the Falcons were in on, and I was like, please get Danielle Hunter. He's a beast, but he's from Houston, so he's going back to his hometown team. He got a bag, 2-year, $50 million deal. Then, if that wasn't enough, they also signed one of the starting linebackers from the 49ers' great defense,
Mm.
Aziz Al-Ashir. So, like, bruh, like, and they were already good. They were already, like, really good. And then they added all these extra pieces, like, and that's one of the things, like, if you can, it's so hard to hit on a rookie quarterback, but if you can hit on a rookie quarterback that comes in from day one and balls out,
Mm.
it gives you that cap flexibility for the
Right.
first 4 years to, like, max out all the talent around him and contract
Right.
wise,
Right.
because then he's not getting paid until that fourth, fifth year, right?
Right.
So yeah, so like it's that Houston is sneaky, and I'm gonna stop talking because I don't know what other questions you're gonna ask. I might be able to. I might be able to get to this team. I was. This was one of the wildest free agencies that I can remember in a while. Like
Okay.
it's been really crazy.
Well, then right off that, what was the biggest wow factor for you out of everything that's happened? The one that really got you, like what?
The biggest wow. So the biggest wow for me was a collection of moves. Like and I don't know if it would be a wow for a lot of people. Okay, well let me just take it. Let me just take a step back.
What about like Chase Young to the Saints, division rival?
No,
No.
that the biggest wow actually was in the moment was Green Bay signing Josh Jacobs, running back Josh Jacobs,
Mm.
from the Raiders, who had led
Mm-hmm.
the league in rushing before, and running backs are finally getting paid again, which is great. He got a 4-year, $48 million deal, but I was like, wait a minute, you got Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon, but that's the first move that they made, and then they immediately cut Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones signs with the Vikings, but still, it's like I can't make sense of like what I don't know
What's
if that.
what's the game plan?
Yeah, like is that really like I don't know. Maybe it will be. Maybe Josh Jacobs is a significant upgrade over Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones has always been good too. So, but then they also re-signed AJ Dillon. So, are you doing running back by committee when you sign
Mm.
a lead back for $10 million a year? Like,
Mm.
just that one. That
Okay.
like that one was the first one. The first one that came across the screen where I was like, "Wow, they what?" You
Mm.
know?
Okay.
Yeah.
So then what about, and you may have already mentioned it, and this could be the same thing. I was going to ask you, the biggest steal out there
Mm.
and the team that got robbed in that steal.
The biggest steal that was out there. I'm looking through my list of deals that I liked. I think the Steelers picking up Patrick Queen
Mm.
from the division
Okay.
rival Ravens.
Mm.
Like that, it's not, you don't see a lot often where teams go to division rivals, but it seems like it happened a lot this offseason.
Okay.
But yeah, 3-year, $41 million deal for a great young linebacker. And I also think, too, another deal that Pittsburgh made, which was interesting, was a trade with the Panthers. Again, a 6th-round pick. So the Steelers traded Deontay Johnson, wide receiver, and a 7th-round pick, and they got back a corner, Dante Jackson, and a 6th-round pick. So they exchanged late-round picks, but basically swapped a wide receiver for a corner.
Mm.
And like Dante Jackson, because I've seen, obviously we play Carolina twice a year, so I'm familiar, like definitely underrated. And again, Pittsburgh's always been known for their defense. So they made a couple sneaky defensive moves that
Mm.
really, if they can get anything from the offense, then they'd be in good shape. But even that was, so that's another surprising one too, was they signed Russell Wilson to a 1-year deal, and then
Mm.
they traded for Justin Fields with the
Right.
Bears. And
Right.
so that one was like, wow. And then I even saw a report today that said if Russell Wilson plays bad in camp and preseason, they could potentially cut him and end up starting Fields this season.
Wow. Oh. Okay.
So
Well,
so Pittsburgh made some interesting moves too.
yeah, it's a young man's game.
Yeah.
All right. So with these moves, in your opinion, what do you think is which team is at that point where it's, the window is closing? It's either now or never, given all
So
the movement that's happened.
I think it's San Fran
Still? Okay.
because they're going to have to pay Brock soon, and they're
Mm.
slowly starting to lose pieces because they can't. Like they lost Kinlaw, they lost Aziz Al-Share, they lost
Chase Young.
Chase, you got like all these little pieces are slowly starting to go
Chip away.
away.
Yeah.
Now they can still do a good job of drafting and find some more young guys and potentially if everybody they hit on everything pan out. But like at a certain point they're going to have to pay Brock Purdy because here's another aspect of this whole thing, right? And what was fascinating to me in this free agency period was the quarterback class from 2 years ago, right? Kenny Pickett was the only first rounder for the Steelers. Well, Steelers signed Russell Wilson. Kenny Pickett immediately asked for a trade. They sent him to Philly. So Kenny Pickett gone from his original team. He was a first round pick 2 years ago, gone from his original team. Then you got Desmond Ritter. Didn't work out with us. We traded him. Malik Willis is still on the bench in Tennessee. They drafted another quarterback the next year and Will Levis. You got Sam Howell from the Commanders, who was up in the upper echelon of passing yards, but he also threw a lot of interceptions and had a lot of sacks because they didn't have a good offensive line. Commanders traded him to Seattle. And there's a few more. Like, basically every quarterback from that class ended up moving to another team or, in Malik Willis's case, still on the bench, not playing. The only lone survivor is Mr. Irrelevant himself, Brock Purdy.
Brock Purdy.
He, out of all those quarterbacks, it's the last pick of that draft who is the one who's still standing, balling out, and he's going to get a bag soon. And that's where it's like San Fran's that window to get, like, that window is closing. They unfortunately ran into injuries, and Philly ended up beating them to go to the Super Bowl the year before last. They made it to the Super Bowl this year, lost. Like, that window is closing quickly unless they draft exceptionally well and they are able to replace that production with young guys on cheap contracts.
Well, they have a tough road ahead of them then. A lot of quick moves, a lot of finagling to figure out.
Yeah.
All right, that makes sense.
Once you pay the quarterback, like it's harder to construct the talent around. Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. So now to all this, this is a team that has a short window. And based on the moves we've seen, which team has the longest potential, like long-term potential? It's okay. Let's see how they develop. Maybe a couple more moves, and we should see them in the final stage at some point.
So
because realistically speaking, not every team is really like competing already for the finals, not the finals, but the Super Bowl.
Right. So Houston is one, but I haven't talked about them, so I'll keep that to the side. The other one that I would say is, assuming that there's a lot of assumption here, but the potential is here as well. The Bears drafting Caleb Williams, number one. They also have another top 10 pick that they can spend on another position of need. Mixed with the moves that they made, they signed DeAndre Swift, running back, formerly with the Eagles, but he was also with Detroit before, formerly with UGA. So I'm very familiar with his game. They they traded for Keenan Allen from the Chargers. They re-signed their star corner, Jalen Johnson. They signed Kevin Byard, the safety, who's a great veteran safety. And their defense wasn't terrible either. And they upgraded their defense. But offensively, especially if they can improve their offensive line play, which they need to make sure that they invest in that. But you got DeAndre Swift, plus I think they still got Khalil Herbert to back him up. Or if not, because I don't remember if he was a free agent, but they have the other kid who was Bijan's backup at Texas, Roshan Johnson, who's a power back too. So they got a nice young backup for DeAndre Swift. You got DJ Moore on one side, Keenan Allen on the other side. You got Cole Kmet, who's a good solid tight end. They got some pieces there that Caleb Williams could pull a CJ Stroud and come in, especially if he's worth all the hype that he's been getting about being like the best generational quarterback that we've ever seen. Like if he lives up to that hype, the pieces are there to compete immediately.
So we got Houston and Chicago.
Yeah, I mean,
so you got the Midwest kind of coming up
in the South. Well, but so Houston is building off of the success of last year, right? They've just added pieces to build off of. Like Chicago will be the one that's purely based on potential, based
What's
on
on
the moves
paper?
and the quarterback, and assuming they're taking Caleb and assuming he is this generational quarterback, like the potential is there for them
Okay.
to have a really good season.
And which team is going to take a drastic fall? They're going to tank this year. They're they weren't bad this year, but now they're just going to be at the bottom tier.
I'm gonna say, honestly, I'm gonna say the Bills.
What?
I think that's
Really?
another one. I think that's another one where the window's closing. Like there was
Oh, that I agree.
there was some hot seat stuff last year, and I know Diggs isn't happy. Like there's been some rumblings about Stephon Diggs not being happy about his targets and things like that. He's
Mm.
made some like vague social media posts about it, and the coach was on the hot seat for some of the lack of winning last year, and I unless they just turn it all around, but like they're definitely
Wow.
trending downwards.
Wow. That's one team I would have never expected to hear. But they're
Yeah,
always in the,
because I still expect Miami to be decent,
Mhm.
although they lost some key pieces on their defense like Xavier Howard and
Mhm.
others. But like Christian Wilkins, they lost the star defensive tackle to the Raiders. They lost some pieces that are going to hurt, but at the end of the day, they still got Tyreek, and like they still can be explosive.
Yep.
Mike McDaniel's still creative coach. I think they're still going to be in the mix. And again, like as long as everybody stays healthy, like with the moves the Jets made, like I don't see how the Jets don't win the division with Aaron Rodgers and the
Hmm.
weapons that they put
Okay.
in the defense that they have. Like, whew.
All right. Well,
So that
all
leaves
in all,
Buffalo potentially out, right? Like,
right. A good point. So, all in all, to sum it up, who do you predict winning the Lombardi come next year? Based on just strictly what's on paper, what you see in the moves.
I mean,
Everyone remains healthy.
is this a real question? It's a real
Well,
question.
without you being a biased fan.
Or is this a real question? No. I definitely think that we're going to win the NFC South, and
If it's not a real question, it's real delirious.
I, I I think we're going to be a lot more dangerous than a lot of people are going to give us credit for. But that's fine. Like, it's cool to be the underdog, right?
Yes, it is.
And I'll
It's
let
always
people,
okay to dream.
no, just let people overlook us, and then next thing you know, when the final score is has Atlanta on the winning side, be like, oh wow, we took them for granted.
This sounds like the Dallas Cowboys fans every year.
No, this is. I promise you, it's not. I'm not that delusional.
Okay. This is our year.
Year is their year. No. But
Right.
like the NFC South is a very bad division. We almost won it last year, so I
Okay.
definitely think we're going to win it this year, and hopefully we make some noise in the playoffs. But
All right.
man, like listen, until somebody can dethrone the champs, like it's just hard. It's hard to fathom them not winning again. But like it happened. Like they won before and then they lost the next one. So like
Yeah.
but I think they're going to strongly be focused on going back to back. So I
But
can't.
that's a team that has no change though, right?
No significant change. They did
Okay.
add a good. They did add a piece. They added Hollywood Brown,
Mm.
speed wide receiver. Not quite like Tyreek Hill level, but like he's a fast receiver. So
Sure.
they added him into their repertoire. The biggest question mark right now is their star corner, their shutdown corner, because he was a shutdown corner last year, and that's L'Jarius Sneed. So they franchised him, and it's up in the air. Like there's reports that Tennessee's trying to trade for him, but he wants to be the highest paid corner in the league. But if the team is trading for him doesn't give the compensation that the Chiefs are looking for, they're fine just franchising him for the year and letting him play on that franchise tag number.
Mm.
So like if he leaves, that could possibly change it a little bit. But like yeah, like until somebody dethrones them, it's hard to pick another team that will. Now I will say that there's one other move that we haven't talked about that I'll just throw in before we leave because we used to talk about him a lot when we used to do the audio pod,
Mm.
and that was King Henry.
Mm.
And King Henry landing with with Lamar Jackson and the Ravens.
Yeah.
Ooh, sir.
Okay.
That's
So now you guys have two all-star running backs. Not you guys, but the Ravens do.
I know, right?
So
No, that's gonna be tough. That's gonna be real tough. There's Lamar back there with Derrick Henry and the receivers. They don't have OBJ anymore, but I mean, I don't think that's Zay Flowers is a monster. Mark Andrews be coming back healthy. Like and the Ravens defense is always good. So they still got Roquan Smith. They still got a lot of their other pieces. Like the Ravens are gonna be tough too. That'd be tough for the Chiefs because that's who they went up against in the AFC Championship. Like the Ravens are gonna be tougher with Derrick Henry back there, King Henry chucking people.
Yeah. So, King Henry trucking and Lamar juking. So you got them all.
Right.
All right. Well, that's all the questions I have, sir, for this exciting preseason free agent.
I was like, man, this is nuts. Like stuff's flying back and forth. Philly signing Saquon, and the Ravens get King Henry, and like Russell Wilson going to Pittsburgh. I'm like, what is going on with the league right now?
It almost sounds like playing a game and you're making these trades in your game, right?
Yeah, it's like Madden. It's Madden in real life, right? It's crazy.
Right.
But my parting message to you is Kirko Chains, baby. Yeah. And I know you've seen the gift.
I've seen it.
With all the jewelry.
Oh, yeah, I've seen it.
Kirko couldn't have landed in a better city.
It might get him in trouble.
Oh, it's probably going to get him in trouble.
So, gets a lot of people in trouble. But
yes, sir.
With that, we don't want to get in trouble, so we do want to wrap up.
Yes.
And thank you guys for tuning in, listening. Remember to like, subscribe, ring that bell, ring a ding, 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 all that good stuff. Share it with a friend, tell a friend, share it with whoever, with your family, everybody else. And until next time, we'll see you on the next episode, right on the flip side. Hopefully in person.
Hopefully in person.
Yeah. And until then, deuces. Peace.
Peace.